ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to 5 Minutes of Math. Thank you once again for joining us tonight. And this is Mr. Lunsford. This homework is for the evening of January 22nd. And let's go ahead and get started. The first question is, which of the following is not an element of the domain? So what do we mean by element? Well, elements are part of sets, and what is a set? It's simply a collection. So if you have a set of clothes, that's your collection of clothes. And in math, when we talk about sets, we have to enclose them in braces. See the orange? Well, once we find a domain, see those points down there? That 1, the 2, and the 5 are all the x values. So that's our set of x values in the domain. See where it says set in the red? Well, if we're talking about the individual parts of that, those are each elements. Those are 3 elements in that domain: the 1, the 2, and the 5. So anytime you see a question that says which element, what are the elements of a domain, or which element doesn't belong, you got to think which number is not one of the x values on the grid. So let's check the coordinate plane. So according to the book, we've got 5 points. The first one is -7, 1, and -7 is our x value. Then we have -4, 2, -4 is our x value. We also have 0, -5, 0 is our x value. We have 3, -6, and 3 is our x value here, and our final x value is going to be set 5, 7. So we have all of our domain values right there in red. So just go back and look at your choices and figure out which one doesn't belong. 7. There's nothing on 7. If we go to 7 on the x-axis, there's nothing there. The answer is D. Okay? All right. That's about it. And we can move on to number 2. All right, so evaluate the following expression. And again, this is order of operations. So let's go ahead and go through this problem. This is nothing difficult. This is the same thing we've been doing. So we start with our parentheses. So we start with that 8 minus 5. Now notice we don't include that negative sign. It's just 8 minus 5, and that becomes 3. Then we go positive 3 squared. We don't include the negative. Why? Because if we're talking about multiplying -1 times 3 and then squaring it would be first. That's why. So it's 3 minus 9 plus the square root of 16. That's our next step. All right, and that's an exponent. Believe it or not, when you get to algebra, you'll find out that taking the square root of a number is the same thing as saying that number to the 1/2 power. So 16 to the half power is the same thing as square rooting it. So 3 minus 9 plus 4 times 9. The next step, multiply, divide, that's 4 times 9. So we're going to have 3 minus 9 plus 36. All right, so that's our next step. The next part of this, since it's all adding and subtracting from left to right, 3 minus 9 is our first step, so we get -6. 3 minus 9 is -6, plus 36, and that's our final step. -6 plus 36 is 30. Alright, so our answer for this question is going to be H. That's going to be our answer for this question. Alright, now we can move on to number 3. Number 3 looks at the percent increase. And anytime you look at percent increase, you know you're talking about a proportion. So let's go ahead and form that proportion. All right, so we have 600 over 500 equals x divided by 100. And of course, you cross multiply. So the yellow is 600 times 100 equals 500 times x. 600 times 100 is 60,000 equals 500x. The next piece of this is where we divide both sides by 500, and it's the same thing we've been doing. So this is 60,000 divided by 500 equals 500x divided by 500. We get 120. Now what does that actually tell us? It tells us that 600 is 120% of 500. All right, so let's compare those two numbers. If we just do 600 minus 500, we know that the change is 100 more breeding pairs, but because we have a proportion, we know that 120% minus the original 100 is 20%. That's why the answer is B. The answer is B. All right? All right, so let's go on to the next one. Which of the following could be the area of a square with whole number side lengths? Now, there's 3 things we need to think about here. First, we know that the relationship between the area of a square and one of its sides is s squared equals area. The area of a square, if you have a square that's 5 units on one side, 5 times 5 is 25. We also know that the side is the square root of the area. So if the area is 25, the square root is 5. That's the length of one side. We also know that whole numbers include 0 in all of the positive integers. All right, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Our strategy is to work backwards. Take the square root of each answer. The only one that's a whole number has got to be the answer. All right, so if we do the square root of 361, we get 19. Boom, we're done. On a test, once you come out with that answer and you know your strategy, I would say stop. Let's check the other three choices just to be sure. Choice G says S equals the square root of 364. S is 19.079. Choice H is the square root of 388. 19.698 is the length of one side. And choice J, S equals the square root of 396. S equals 19.899. So yeah, F is your best answer. All right, so let's see. I think we can move on to the next one. All right, so for number 5, and this is our last problem, we're looking at our answers to see which of the following expressions has the smallest value. Our strategy is to convert all of the answer choices into the same form, and I'm going to choose decimals. And we're going to find the smallest value after we convert them. So choice A is just to convert that number from a fraction to a decimal. 3 over 500, if you put it in the calculator, is 0.006. Choice B, we can just use that as is. They made that one easy. 0.002. Choice C, we have to convert from scientific notation to a decimal. 1.5 times 10 to the negative 2. Move the decimal over to the left twice. 0.015. And then choice D, if we convert that number from a percentage to a decimal, we have to divide by 100. So 0.5% equals 0.5 divided by 100, 0.005. If we compare all 4 answer choices and look for the smallest value, the answer is B. And if you notice here, you had to use all of the skills that you have been learning over the last 2 years. Convert a number from a fraction to a decimal. You have to remember scientific notation. You have to know how to convert a number from a percentage to a decimal. And a standardized test might throw this at you at any moment. So just be prepared, be ready. All right, and I think that's about it. Thank you so much for joining all of us tonight, and y'all have a good one. I'll talk to you in 24 hours.